She used a small knife to make an incision on the forehead, then carefully removed the skin. Following the instructions, she applied 3 red moles with cinnabar. She then absorbed the excess moisture until there was no trace left. Quickly, she used a fishhook to stitch the wound, feeling extremely nervous, fearing that the prince might suddenly wake up. The mesmerizing incense was about to burn out, forcing her to speed up. She successfully finished just in the nick of time. When the prince opened his eyes, he didn't notice anything unusual. The next morning, he went to pay his respects to the emperor. As he lifted his head, a ray of sunlight shone onto his face. The young emperor clearly saw the 3 red moles and was instantly struck with shock.
This man bit a hand grenade right in front of some military officers, which made the soldiers nearby very nervous. To calm them down, the man did some fancy moves with the grenades and then pulled out a German medal from his mouth. The German officers were very surprised and asked where he got the medal. Instead of answering, the man kept on doing his tricks. The officer saw that his pocket watch had disappeared. The man moved quickly to avoid him and jumped into a well. This left the officers confused. Suddenly, a hand reached out, and some soldiers pulled him out. Just when the officers were going to scold him, the watch started ringing. It turned out the man had somehow put the watch back on him. The man's tricks were meant to get the attention of the German soldiers and make them relax. The man was actually a Soviet army captain, and they had captured a German colonel. As they were about to leave, they discovered something terrible. The German soldiers were getting ready to execute 2 Soviet girls. He jumped from the rooftop of the building, landing hard on the ground. Everyone was shocked enough to make the 5th emoji in your phone. The German officer was shaken by the incident, rushing forward to check the man, which allowed 2 young Soviet girls behind him the opportunity to escape. Approaching the Soviet soldier, the officer attempted to rouse him with a kick, but there was no response. Turning his attention back, the officer found out that the girls had been rescued as part of a clever scheme. Unfortunately, when he realized this, it was too late. Bullets began raining down, swiftly eliminating all the German soldiers, except for one who had stayed at a distance and refused from joining the scene. This lone soldier had witnessed the entire sequence of events from afar. It was only after all the other German soldiers had fallen that the Soviet soldiers slowly rose from the ground. At that moment, he also noticed the presence of a surviving German soldier.
Зачем вы сюда пришли? Сидели бы сейчас дома.
Alright, the craziness of Koreans is catching up with the Japanese. If you don't believe me, check out this dude. Dresses up like Batman, and the mirror on the ceiling is catching every move. All set, the guy is eager like a tiger, sniffing the scent of lamb. He opens the camera, and the girl knocked out by the potion is out cold. The guy messes with her, can't help but lick his lips. But high-end hunters usually appear in the form of prey. The girl pulls out a dagger. Just as the guy's undoing the last button, revenge kicks in. The girl swings the knife, and he catches it barehanded. At the critical moment, he bangs her down to the ground. She pulls out the knife again. He swings a bottle towards her head. Seeing the girl's stance, he can tell she's a pro. They wrestle, leaving destruction in their way. The guy's got the strength advantage, but the girl's got the skills, and just as the knife's about to plunge into his throat, lights out. In the darkness, the girl unleashes her combat prowess, pins the guy to the floor again, shoves the dagger into his mouth. And when she's about to go finish him, lights on. Mushroom head bursts in. Luckily, the girl's nimble, dodges 2 shots, dives under the bed, and Mushroom head jumps on the bed. After firing 2 shots, the damn gun jams. The girl seizes the moment, grabs the bed sheet, and sends Mushroom head flying. She bolts out of the room, barricades the door, and just as she turns around, there's a freaking chainsaw horror show in the hallway. They say not to mess with dangerous stunts. See, now you didn't kill and cut yourself short.
This hitman is about to assemble his homemade sniper rifle. First, he slaps on the top-notch barrel, uses a telescope as a sniper scope, attaches a laser rangefinder to the stock, and then connects the wires. Because this gun has some crazy recoil, he needs to secure it tightly. After that, he pulls out a depleted uranium armor-piercing round and loads it. Then he sets the timer, scopes out the target 5 kilometers away, and adjusts the lens. Right at the moment, he hits the remote control. One shot takes out 2 birds. The billion-dollar plane turns into junk, chaos everywhere. But he isn't done yet. He loads another bullet, pops off another shot, and sends a little carry packing. Just as a bodyguard spots his location and rushes over like crazy, using some slick moves to dodge the shots. He pulls out another bullet, ready to take the guy out, but time's up. Just as he's about to bail, a handgun suddenly appears behind him.
A black man found a diamond and discreetly placed it in his mouth, but his actions were noticed by the overseer.
Stop! Give it to me.
He was sent to heaven for this act. This scene scared the hell out of Solomon, because in this place, all slaves were required to surrender any diamonds they found, otherwise, the outcome would be similar to what had just happened. However, not long after, Solomon seemed to have discovered something as well. Carefully wiping off the dirt, he found a pink diamond the size of a watermelon. In the era when the diamond industry was just emerging, he instantly knew that this diamond could buy a city. Solomon's mind was boiling with conflicting thoughts. He had two choices. If he turned it in, he wouldn't be caught and wouldn't have to go to heaven. If he claimed it for himself, it would be enough to provide for his family for generations. However, having such a large diamond on his person would easily be noticed by the overseer. Just as he was at a loss, a water pipe nearby suddenly burst, drawing everyone's attention away. Seizing the moment while the overseer was distracted, he hastily tucked the pink diamond between his toes.
This Jewish was taking a bath when suddenly a German soldier barged in and discovered that he was Jewish. Arthur got scared and pleaded for mercy on his knees. Maybe because the soldier felt a connection with Arthur, he didn't expose him. Surprisingly, they became best buddies, and Arthur finally felt some warmth after a long time. But the good times didn't last. During a battle, they captured a Soviet radio, and Arthur became the translator.
Jetzt sagt dass ein deutsches Grad im Visier hat und 2 Lanzer und dass sie mal ein bisschen Feuer unter dem Hintern machen wollen.
One after another, Arthur's teammates fell, including the soldier who had protected him. Arthur was so heartbroken and helpless that he got an idea. He could join the Soviets. He immediately contacted them, claiming he was Jewish and a member of the Soviet Young Pioneers, now an undercover in the German army and wanted to return. The Soviets admired his bravery and arranged for him to sneak over at night. When he raised his rifle over his head, they would know it was him and offer support. However, he couldn't believe what he was about to see. This Jewish boy raised his gun to surrender, and surprisingly, the Soviet soldiers raised theirs, too. Then, a bunch of German soldiers charged out from behind. Turns out, they thought Arthur was planning a solo night raid on the enemy camp, so they enthusiastically came to support him. Unbelievable. Instead of sneaking away, he accidentally became a hero among the Germans. To top it off, when the general heard about it, he praised Arthur and adopted him as his son. He even sent him to an elite school for further education. Arthur was excited, at least it was safer than the battlefield. During the introduction, the instructor declared him a hero returning from the battlefield, and this badass background made everyone like him a lot. But soon, he realized he was wrong. The school's teachings were all about eliminating Jews, even their anthem had lyrics about stabbing Jews with long knives. Arthur finally realized it was even more dangerous here. To hide his Jewish identity, he became extra cautious, checking the bathroom locks and shower curtains repeatedly. But no matter how careful he was, he couldn't foresee this. The first class at school was about how to identify Jews and kill them. The instructor listed physical features like a high forehead, hooked nose, flat head back, big ears, and walking like a gorilla. Arthur got more and more anxious listening to this. Suddenly, the instructor called Arthur for a demonstration, measuring him with a ruler and comparing the color of his eyes with a color chart. As a pure-blooded Jew, Arthur knew he couldn't escape this time. Finally, after some fuss, the instructor concluded that Arthur was a true Aryan. Damn, that instructor sure knew how to instruct. Might as well go home and farm. But, thanks to this class, Arthur's identity became somewhat safer, and he started to be more confident. He even started dating the school's beauty, who was bold and wanted to get right to it on first date. But Arthur was worried about exposing, so he refused. Back home, he came up with a crazy idea to boost its appearance with yarn. Even though the process was extremely painful, he could still endure it. But little did he know, right after his self-surgery, he received a notice for a school medical checkup.
This man picked up a sniper rifle. He could have shot his head off, but he slowly moved the scope and then quickly pulled the trigger. He took away his crime tool, and he got scared enough to make the 5th emoji in your phone. Turns out, a few days earlier, these guys made up lies to trick his granddaughter into going home with them. When the girl wasn't paying attention, one guy immediately put something in her drink. By the time the girl was ready to go home, her legs weren't working properly anymore. When she got home, she kept crying. It was only when her grandpa saw the bruises on her legs that he realized something bad had happened to her. He immediately called the police, who then started to arrest the 3 guys. They found blood-stained sheets in the bathroom. But someone's arrival completely changed the situation. It was the chief, who also happened to be the criminal's father. Therefore, the police could only release them. The old man didn't give up though. He started his own plan for revenge.